Before we begin, please hit that like button, share, and subscribe for more. Thanks for being part of the story. Back then, after being unemployed for what felt like forever, one of my relatives told me about a sawmill in the northern region that was looking for help. He said they were known for producing high-quality wood. I didn't think twice. I needed the work, and the idea of getting out of the city sounded good, so I packed up and headed there right away. When I arrived, I realized just how remote the place really was. The sawmill was deep in the forest, surrounded by towering trees in every direction. The nearest town was several kilometers away, and there wasn't a soul in sight. At night, the quiet was almost too much. No lights, no sounds, just the pale moonlight filtering through the treetops. There was a stream nearby, gently flowing past the edge of the property. It should have been calming, but something about it made the whole place feel off. Peaceful, but unsettling. The mill itself was big, but nearly deserted. Only 3 workers were employed there. One of them was a middle-aged guy who seemed to run the place. He had been working there for years and clearly knew the place inside and out. He welcomed me with a firm handshake and a quiet nod. He wasn't much of a talker, but there was something about him. A quiet man with a commanding presence. Someone who didn't say much, but carried weight when he spoke. He gave me a full tour that day, explaining the nature of the work and sharing bits of the sawmill's long history. The building itself was a 2-story structure made mostly of old timber and steel. The ground floor was used to store processed wood, and the upper floor had a few small, musty rooms that once served as worker housing, but had been abandoned for years. Inside, the sawmill was packed with towering stacks of lumber, especially in the back where the premium quality wood was kept. Even in the daytime, the place was dim. The floors were stained with oil and littered with old wood debris, some of it clearly untouched for ages. While we walked through the place, he suddenly made a passing comment.
"This sawmill is over 70 years old, so don't be too surprised if anything strange happens."
I laughed, trying not to show that I was a bit nervous at his words, and I forced myself to think he was just trying to scare the new guy. Still, I couldn't shake the feeling that something about the place wasn't quite right. It was too quiet. Not a single bird chirp, not even the rustle of leaves, no sounds of wild animals, just my own breathing in that deep, unnatural silence. Since I had just arrived, the man told me I could temporarily stay in one of the old rooms upstairs. It wasn't much, but it had a door, a window, and 4 walls, and that was good enough for me until I found a more permanent place. That first night, after everyone had finished work and gone home, I stayed behind. I wanted to get familiar with the place. I spent some time cleaning up, putting things in order, tidying up the workspace. When I was done, I decided to explore a bit more before heading to bed. I grabbed my flashlight and walked through the mill's shadowy interior. As I walked, I swept the beam of light across the corners, around the machines and into the crevices. Then suddenly, the sharp sound of wooden planks hitting the floor echoed through the whole building. It was so loud it made my heart jump into my throat. I spun around, flashlight trembling in my hand, but there was nothing, just a few pieces of wood on the floor. Maybe it was just a poorly stacked plank that had simply fallen on its own, I thought. But then, something changed. A wave of cold air rushed past me, and that didn't make any sense. It was summer, after all. The nights were supposed to be warm. That's when it hit me. That feeling. That awful, heavy sensation like something was watching me. I stood completely still. The flashlight flickered slightly, and then came the smell. A rotten, sickening odor, like something decaying. I froze in place. Slowly, I raised the flashlight again and scanned the room. That's when I saw it. A particular stack of wood that looked completely different from the others. It looked burned. Some of the planks were broken or missing, and there were reddish-brown stains along the edges, like something had leaked and dried there long ago. I told myself it was rust or some kind of oil stain, but I couldn't help feeling chills across my entire body. Deep down, I knew better. Something wasn't right with this place, not at all. The next morning, I told the man everything that had happened the night before. I was still shaken, hoping he might offer some kind of explanation that made sense, but he only gave me a half smile and said,
"Everyone new here sees strange things at first, You'll get used to it.
That response unsettled me even more. As the days passed, the strange occurrences around the lumber mill only grew worse. During the day, everything seemed perfectly normal, but after sunset, the whole place changed. The air felt heavier, colder. I began hearing faint voices from deep within the sawmill. But no matter how hard I tried, I could never figure out where they were coming from. Sometimes it felt like someone was walking in circles around me. I'd stop, hold my breath, and listen. But the moment I tried to focus, the sounds would vanish. Then came the night I'll never forget. I was putting away some finished wood in the storage area, just like I always did. Nothing unusual, until I heard footsteps behind me. I spun around, but there was no one there. At first I thought I'd imagined it, but then the footsteps came again, heavier this time, quicker, as if someone was rushing toward me, and then silence. I froze. Goosebumps rose all over my arms. Out of the corner of my eye I saw it. A shadow, human-shaped, standing in the far corner of the warehouse, staring right at me. I was certain it was a person. I called out to my coworkers, but no one answered, and then it moved. It rushed toward me. I stumbled backward in panic, tripped, and hit the ground hard. My flashlight flew from my hands and clattered across the floor. Its beam flickered, then landed on something horrifying. Hanging from the ceiling was a man's body, a rope tight around his neck. He was limp, facing away from me. My breath caught in my throat. He had to have been dead for some time. But then, slowly, his body began to turn. His face came into view, swollen and bruised. His eyes were bulging, filled with unmistakable hatred, and they were looking straight at me. I couldn't move. My legs refused to respond. I was paralyzed with terror, and everything went black. I woke up in a hospital bed. A man was sitting nearby. He told me he found me unconscious on the warehouse floor and rushed me here. When I was finally able to speak, I told him everything. Every detail. Then I asked the question I had been avoiding since I started working there. Please tell me, what's going on in this mill? He hesitated, and then, finally, he told me the truth. Almost 10 years ago, there was an old worker. He had worked there for a long time and was highly trusted. He managed all the lumber stock. One day, while working, he lost his balance while trying to stack a large pile of wood. He tried to catch himself, grabbing onto nearby pieces, but it caused the whole stack to come down on him. He was crushed to death instantly. That same wood pile, stained with what looked like dried blood, still sits in the back of the warehouse. The owner tried to dispose of the pile after the accident, but even the thought of moving it triggered strange occurrences, unexplainable sounds, even equipment failures. Eventually, they just pushed the pile into a corner and left it there. And then, there was another worker. He was a new hire who was quiet and reserved, working tirelessly and struggling with personal issues. No one really knew him well. One morning, they found his body hanging from a high beam in the warehouse. He ended his own life. After that, people started seeing more strange things, hearing things, feeling watched. Some tried to brush it off, but one by one, they quit. Too many sleepless nights, too many terrifying moments they couldn't explain. That's why, even though the lumber mill has a great reputation for its products and pays decently, nobody wants to work there anymore. And that's when I knew exactly what I had seen. I hadn't imagined it. I had encountered the spirits of those two workers still trapped in the place where they died, still suffering. The thought of going back chilled me to the bone. I resigned immediately. To this day, I believe those spirits are still there, wandering the mill at night, waiting to be released.